back, everybody. Today we've got all 32 teams, just one move that they need to make this NFL offseason in order to take them to the next level. I separated it into whether it's a signing in free agency, a trade, or even just a draft pick in the NFL draft that can really upgrade their roster going into 2026. So feel free to drop a comment who you want your team to add this offseason, and let me know if I got your team right as well. And hit that subscribe button, and let's get into it. Let's start off here at the top with the Arizona Cardinals. I think the one move that they need to make is to sign Malik Willis. I think there's a lot of juice left here with Malik Willis. He looked very, very good in the time where Jordan Love was missing for Green Bay, and I think the Cardinals are in this transition period where you don't have a quarterback, you're benching Kyler, he's probably going to get traded this offseason, so you save a little bit of money there, and you have a competent roster where you might as well try and compete and see what you've got in this quarterback while you don't have a top NFL draft prospect. I think this would be a different discussion whether Dante Moore was available in the draft or not, but you're not going to get a high-quality quarterback in the 2026 draft, so why not see if you have Malik Willis and he can be your quarterback for the next few years, or if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then you just go and recycle into the top of the draft in 2027 and go get one of the loaded quarterbacks in that draft. But for now, let's pair him up with Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Trey McBride and see what this offense can do, because he looked very dynamic both as a passer and a runner in 2025. So going off of the Cardinals, it's going to be the Falcons, and I like them to trade for Jerry Jeudy. Why this actually makes sense, they have Drake London and Kyle Pitts, but they really have no one else. I think they're in need of a wide receiver too, and who better than Jerry Jeudy coming from Kevin Stefanski's Cleveland Browns as he takes over the Falcons head coach job? Why not trade like a 6th or 7th round pick to go get Jerry Jeudy and help make this offense a little bit less one-dimensional? I think he's going to rely on the ground game, whether it's Bijan or Algier, and really play off the play action. So the more weapons you have in the pass game, the better, and Stefanski has experience with them, and I think he would be the perfect fit for Atlanta. And then we got the Ravens drafting Denzel Boston, sticking in the wide receiver realm, goes to Washington. He's big, 6'3", he can get downfield, and with the Ravens, their wide receiver core is good, but it's very, very young. I like them to get some more speed and skill on the outside. I don't think you're going to rely on Zay Flowers to be a Super Bowl winning team's wide receiver 1, so unless you have a 1A, 1B, which I think Boston can be in year 1, we've seen rookie wide receivers take over year in, year out, right away from day 1, so I think he can step in and be very productive, and he matches well with Lamar's play style to really help this offense kind of untap a new element to it. With the 2 tight ends and Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, you have all the pieces in order to run it back here and go to the Super Bowl, hopefully with a new head coach. Maybe focus a little bit more on the defense in the free agency, but in the NFL draft, why not target an absolute playmaker? Following the Ravens is going to be the Bills. Another wide receiver here with Jawan Jennings. Yes, the Bills are probably the team that needs wide receiver the most. Joe Brady is the new head coach. However, I think he knows what he needs on offense the most, and it's another playmaker. So get Jawan Jennings, because I think there's other younger wide receivers you could draft in the 2026 NFL draft, but I'd rather just get a veteran because this team is ready to compete right now and there's no time to waste. So get a guy that's been there. He's been in the big moments. Jawan Jennings is as reliable as they come. He's a great blocker downfield as well, and he's very trusted amongst the league as one of the most reliable wide receivers. So I think he makes perfect sense here with Josh Allen. You pair him with Shakir rather than going after a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson, who kind of fits that same player type as Khalil Shakir. You get a big body wide receiver on the X, and you can really target him and maybe phase out Keon Coleman or just not have to involve him as much and rely on Jennings, Shakir, and the 2 tight ends, which I think will be plenty enough in order to take the Bills to the next level. And then we got the Panthers here. Back to the NFL draft. I'm going to say their one move is going to be to draft Kenyon Sadiq. He's an absolute freak athlete coming out of Oregon. He is a tight end for all of you who don't know, but he's also a great blocker as well. And the Panthers are in this 5th-year option limbo period with Bryce Young. You don't know if you're going to pay him top dollar because, yes, he took you to the playoffs, but you were below 500. So I don't know how bullish I'd be on the future for Bryce Young, but there's only one way to find out, and that's to keep on stacking weapons. And even if he's not the guy, you set up the next quarterback well. I know there's a lot of Bryce Young believers in there, so the jury is still out, but I think adding Sadiq to this offense would be absolutely remarkable. You have the good O-line where you can kind of run it to Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks if the team moves on from Rico Dowdle, but then you need someone else besides Tedero McMillan, besides Jalen Coker, and I think the big athletic tight end would fit well for Bryce Young. It's an easy check down over the middle, high pointing the ball in the end zone. That could really make this offense a little bit more than just the Ted McMillan show, so I really like this move for Carolina. And then we got the Chicago Bears. Yes, I know the draft is going to be chock full of defensive players, and I think the Bears just follow suit. I know it's not one of the flashy players that you want to hear in free agency, but that's just due to the Bears and their cap space. Currently, one of the least amount of cap room in the NFL so far. They don't have much. Yes, they can clear some up by cutting DJ Moore or moving on from him. So I'll wait and see on that. But for now, a cheap budget option is to draft Akeem Mesidor out of Miami. He's an edge rusher and an absolute game wrecker. We saw it even in the national championship against Indiana. He was getting home all night. A theme of that Miami defense is just the physicality, and I think Mesidor was the kind of the leader amongst that. Him and Ruben Bain really set the tone, and I think the Bears are in need of that. They were a little bit bad against the run, and the back end is a little bit solid with Jalen Johnson coming back to full health and hopefully re-signing Kevin Byard. So you need pass rush up front to help out that secondary, and I think Mesidor would be perfect for the Bears going into 2026. Then we got the Bengals. Back to the defense. We're going to sign Devin Lloyd. Yes, the Bengals actually do have a lot of cap space. I think they're going to let go of Trey Hendrickson. I'm not really sure why they didn't trade him at the deadline. You could have had assets for him, but I digress. So you might as well use the money that you save here and go back to defense. Get a young, uprising Devin Lloyd here. He's a great edge rusher. He can get home. Also can kind of play coverage with the running backs and tight ends. He's a freak athlete, and he was a part of that Jaguars defense that was forcing the most takeaways in the NFL week in, week out. So you get him, who can hopefully take the ball back and give it to Joe Burrow to help this offense out just a little bit. And then you tailor your draft to just focusing on the nose tackles and the front four up front in order to stop the run. But as long as you have pass rush and the defense up front, you can kind of figure out the back end on cheaper minimum deals in order to make some signs of improvement, because the Cincinnati defense needs it super, super badly. And then we got the Cleveland Browns. If you're wondering where the Miami quarterback is going to land, I think he lands back in Cleveland here for the Browns. Tua Tagovailoa going there. I don't think it's going to cost them very much, whether it's a third or fourth round pick, in order to take on his contract. But I think the Browns are kind of in this win now period. I know you're going to call me crazy, but I'm not saying they are going to win now, but their roster actually sets up well. So if they draft a first round wide receiver, they have 2 first round picks. Say you draft Mekhi Lemon and like a guy like Casey Concepcion at the end of the draft, you have 2 really good wide receivers going into the season, and then you get Tua and you can play off of the run. So you have Judkins with a good O-line, you play the play action, which Tua has been good about. He's good when they have balance on the offensive side of the ball, and he's just going to be a game manager. They have the defense that can take them to the playoffs, so you don't need any help there. You have Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. They'll captain the whole ship on the defensive side of the ball, and then on the offensive side of the ball, you just need Tua to play mistake-free football, and I think he's capable of doing that. So I think this move could take them from a 3-win team to maybe like a 9-win team, and you might scrape into the playoffs. It's similar to the Steelers of last year. You might as well just try and compete, because you never know what's going to happen in your division. And then we got another team that missed the playoffs. It's going to be the Cowboys. I know this is year in, year out. Rinse and repeat. You need defensive players for the Cowboys. And I think they go to the draft. I think they're also going to sign guys in free agency. But you got the big splash with Quinnen Williams at the deadline. He is great against the run. Their yards against the rush really went down as soon as they got him, which is great. So I don't think they're in big need of like a nose tackle up front. But in the linebacker in the secondary, you really need help. And I think Sonny Styles would be perfect for this. He's one of the most intelligent players in this NFL draft, captaining that Ohio State defense that just won a national championship in the past season. I like him going to Dallas. It feels like a good culture fit in order to really steamroll this defense and be the captain as the linebacker of this team. It's where you want to be when you're kind of on the rise, which I think the Cowboys are. They're pretty young. I know Dak's a little bit older, but as far as their talent goes, they are young, and they're still a few years away. So I think Sonny Styles could develop into a absolute all-pro, and you might as well also sign guys on the back end, because you paid Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs, and I don't think those were the best signings, so you might as well find some help there. And I think there's a lot of cheap options in free agency to target some shadow corners. And then we got the Denver Broncos going to sign Quincy Williams, another guy from this Jets defense that is just outside of the national media, but I think he still has a lot of good ball left in him. It's just nitpicking with the Denver Broncos. I mean, they're so talented on both sides of the ball. So I think the only place that I could see a need for depth is you put him alongside Ellis here on the linebacker front. I'm not saying he's going to play every snap, but Quincy Williams is good enough to come in and make a difference right away. Their defense is already top 3 in the NFL, so he'd just be sugar on the top. So I think this move makes a lot of sense, but Denver is already firmly in the win now mode, and any move that they make is just adding extra sweetener to this great team already. The Lions, they've got a lot of holes now on the defensive side of the ball. I know a lot of you guys want to see here trading for Max Crosby. I think that's a possibility, but as far as right now, I think the only guarantee is going to be fixing that O-line. Dan Campbell wants to get back to that run-first identity. That's what made them great. Really took them far into the playoffs. That's when they were winning 15 games a year, and I think they go back to it. And this guy, Caden Proctor, is literally built in a Dan Campbell factory. At Alabama, he's the left tackle, and he was used in all these different sets, whether it was a wide receiver screen. Yes, he was catching the ball as a 6'7" offensive tackle. He was also the fullback on goal line packages. He carried the ball in for a touchdown. He has all the traits that Dan Campbell's looking for. Pair him with Penei Sewell, and you've got yourself a star offensive line. And I think that gets back to where they're from, all those athletic guys on the line, and then they're able to get some creative packages whenever they're winning by like 30 plus. So hopefully this move helps them, but also a lot of moves necessary on the defensive side as well. And then we got the Packers staying in division here, signing DJ Humphries. Yes, similar to the Bears, it's not that flashy of a signing, I know, but you don't have much money to work with in this offseason. You just paid Micah Parsons the most money ever to a defensive player, and you have all these other contracts on the books with Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs that you have to make crucial signings, and I think the one area that they needed was depth at O-line. You saw this O-line get decimated with injuries, and it really hurt the Matt LaFleur scheme, which is playing off of the run. They were able to run it a little bit effectively with Josh Jacobs, but that's kind of the engine that runs for Green Bay, and I think they get back to that. Signing DJ Humphries, he's a great veteran who's good in run and pass pro. He's getting a little bit older, but this is what the Packers need, just an old veteran that can help get it done on the offensive line and be a stalwart for this team. The Texans going to the running back position here. Obviously, Joe Mixon missed the whole season with a undisclosed injury. Not sure if he's going to be back for next year, and I'm not sure you would even trust him going into 2026. So I think this move makes a lot of sense, trading for David Montgomery. The GM of the Lions already mentioned that they have put David Montgomery on the block. He's not like untouchable, as many once thought. In him and Gibbs, that tandem goes so well for Detroit. However, for Houston, it makes a lot of sense to just make Monty the bell cow. I don't see any reason why he can't be. Yes, he's getting a little bit older, but for running back age, he still has like 1 to 2 more years of his prime. He's good, he's fast, and he's physical downhill runner, and he kind of fits this D'Amico Ryans Texans identity as far as their defense is concerned. They play hard, and they're going to try and win with their defense as CJ Stroud continues to develop, hopefully hitting that roadblock this past season, wakes him up a little bit and refreshes him back into rookie year form, but they're getting weapons back with second-year Jaden Higgins and Tank Dell coming back. So hopefully Monty can make this offense just a little bit more dynamic and get him a true running back that can get those gritty after-contact yards. So I like Monty to the Texans. And then we got the Colts signing Jalen Phillips. Yes, if you're the Colts, you just got to push all your chips in. You already did, trading your first-round picks away for Sauce Gardner, so you might as well just dig the hole even more and put some more money on the books here with Jalen Phillips as a defensive end. That's kind of the area of struggle for the Colts down the stretch. I know DeForest Buckner missed time late, but they could also use more depth in playing alongside him. You have Kwity Paye, who's also a free agent, so I think bringing them back with Jalen Phillips would make this defense very, very scary with a full offseason to develop Sauce Gardner with the whole defense, and then hopefully you get Daniel Jones back to be fully healthy. But the Colts have proven that they're in win-now mode, whether you like it or not, so you might as well embrace it and get one of the top free agents. And then we got the Jaguars getting Isaiah Likely. I like this fit because he's big and he's athletic and he's young. He kind of matches what this team's identity is all about. You have Trevor Lawrence, who's, yes, developing into a star quarterback, and you also have Travis Hunter and all these offensive weapons that are young and ready to develop under Liam Cohen for the next handful of years. So you pair him with Isaiah Likely, who, yes, they had Brenton Strange, but you add a bigger, athletic, freak of nature tight end here, who I think is just scratching at the surface of what he could be. The Ravens just extended Mark Andrews, so they're probably going to let Isaiah Likely walk, and I think the Jaguars are the perfect suitor for this. I think it makes their offense a little bit more explosive. You already have the big play ability with Parker Washington and Brian Thomas Jr., but to add another field stretcher over the middle of the field who's one of the best contested catch guys makes a whole lot of sense for the Jags. And then the Chiefs getting Breece Hall. Yes, this will probably be the splash of free agency, getting the best running back available. They tried to trade for him at the deadline, but unfortunately nothing transpired. But going into this offseason, I think he's going to be the number one priority. If you looked at any of the charts of the Chiefs running back play with Isaiah Pacheco over the past few years, it's literally bottom of the barrel. Just ranking dead last in all kinds of efficiency. So getting a playmaker here with Breece Hall, both in the rushing and the receiving game, can definitely help things out. I think he's low-key like a top 8 running back that doesn't get enough national media respect just due to his team that he's playing on the Jets, away from all the primetime games. So hopefully the Chiefs bring some more national exposure to the talent of Breece Hall, and he can really take this team back to where it belongs, to the Super Bowl contender window. Then the Raiders getting Rasheed Walker. Yes, he's the best left tackle available in free agency. It's not too often that you get a true left tackle in the offseason, but I think the Packers are going to pursue him, but they don't have enough money to really keep him in-house. And the Raiders have one thing, and it's a lot of cap space, so you might as well pair him with Fernando Mendoza and Genti and get back to what this offense really wants to be with Clint Kubiak as the head coach, and that's run first. They drafted a running back in the top 10. You want to get him the ball, but you need guys to block for him as well. So you line up your main protector here for Fernando Mendoza for the rest of his, hopefully, long career for the Raiders, and then you are able to play off the play action, similar to the Seahawks are doing in this playoffs, with the same play caller obviously becoming the head coach. I think it makes a lot of sense, but you're also going to need a lot more help in the draft on the O-line. But I think that should get taken care of, but starting at left tackle is certainly a smart option. With the Chargers, also an O-lineman here, it's going to be Caleb Lomu. Obviously, the Chargers have a little bit of a later first-round pick, but there's one glaring hole that they need, and it's the O-line. They have two great tackles with Slater, and the other side of the offensive line, Northwestern, it is Joe Alt, coming off the ankle injury. I don't know why the name escaped me, but going off of that, they both missed the entire season for the most part. Alt was battling ankle injuries throughout the season, but getting more offensive line depth definitely makes sense here. Getting Lomu, who at Utah, their main identity was running the football. I think that's similar to Jim Harbaugh in the offensive scheme they want established, especially with Mike McDaniels coming in as the offensive coordinator. They're going to try and run Amarian Hampton and really just play out the play action with Justin Herbert. So get another tackle that can also go inside and play guard. He's one of the most versatile offensive linemen in this draft. Getting him, pairing him with the two beastly offensive linemen that they already have, and then you just pray for health going into 2026, and then you're automatically back into that AFC West contender situation to really rival the Broncos and the Chiefs at the top of that division. Then we switch over to the other team in LA. It's going to be the Rams taking Mansour Delane. So coming out of college here, out of LSU, he's one of the best corners in this draft. And the Rams have the pleasure of having 2 first-round picks, thanks to the Falcons giving them their pick in order to draft James Pierce. Didn't really understand that move at the time and still don't understand it, but the Rams get a top 15 pick here, and I like them taking a shutdown corner. That's like the one hole that they had on defense. It was similar to the Emmanuel Forbes getting burned on third downs, and that's just due to the fact that they didn't have much depth on the back end. You have the pass rushers of Braden Frisk and Jared Verse, but you need more help in the secondary, and I think Mansour can really help out. One of the more kind of lengthy corners. He can play man. So I like him fitting into this defensive scheme going into 2026 while they still contend for the Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford hopefully coming back. And then maybe with your later first-round pick, you take a high upside quarterback, whether that's Trinidad Chambliss or Ty Simpson, and develop him under Stafford to get ready for next year since you have all of the other pieces figured out. And then we go to the Dolphins. It's going to be Kyler Murray. I know we said this big QB bonanza with Tua, Kyler, Malik Willis, where are they all going to end up? I think they're all just going to kind of swap places while there's not many good quarterbacks in this 2026 draft. So I like the Dolphins to make the trade to get Kyler Murray. It makes their offense just a little bit more dynamic in the sense that they were kind of rounding into form towards the end of the season. Their defense looks pretty good. You just get a few more pieces in free agency, and you might as well make a run at it. You never know when it's going to be your year, and go back to the formula that made them a playoff team before, and that's just speed everywhere. So you pair him with Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle on the RPOs, and then you just tell Kyler to just kind of play loose and play free, and you hope for the best, and they're going to be in shootouts and hoping that teams are just getting run off the field because of the speed, and you might as well give it a shot because there's not too many good quarterback prospects, and see what you've got in this defense, and if it works, then you can re-sign Kyler and really move forward with him as the franchise guy, but if not, then you just kind of scrap it and go into 2027 and look at quarterback at the top of the board. And then we got the Vikings going after another quarterback here. It's going to be via trade with Mac Jones. I think this makes way too much sense because they need a veteran quarterback here with J.J. McCarthy to bring in some quarterback competition in the offseason. I like this because Mac Jones was able to win games for the 49ers when Brock Purdy was out. And I think he could do the similar kind of path as Sam Darnold, not to the highest extent, but getting some coaching experience with Shanahan and now Kevin O'Connell, if he goes to Minnesota, would be great for him. I think he could step in if McCarthy struggles and really take this team to the playoffs. Obviously, they have all the weapons necessary, and you don't need to do much with this defense, headlined by Brian Flores, who just became the highest paid defensive coordinator in the NFL, and rightfully so. He has all of his guys humming as one of the best defensive units. So you really just need to protect the football, which Mac Jones was great at in 2025 in limited action. But you have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, as well as TJ Hawkinson. So all the weapons are there. So you always have a backup plan if JJ McCarthy continues 2026 like he did in the past year, and then you can scrap it and go to Mac Jones right away. Then we go to the Patriots, signing Alec Pierce from the Colts. The Patriots actually sneaky have a lot of cap space. So with Diggs getting older, and they have this young conglomerate of wide receivers, whether it's Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, where they're all kind of that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 range. But Alec Pierce is just scratching at the potential of what he could become. He's led the league in back-to-back years in average depth of target. He can get it done down the field as well as in the red zone. And he did so with a kind of a mosh of quarterbacks with Daniel Jones, Phillip Rivers, and even Riley Leonard for a few games. So I like Alec Pierce to get paid, and rightfully so. And going to this offense, pairing a young wide receiver with a young quarterback, hopefully developing that chemistry while they're on the rookie deal of Drake May to continue to kind of contend in the AFC for years to come and make this offense just a little bit more explosive. And then we got the Saints with Tyler Algier, another team that's needing of a running back, whether it's Jeremiah Love in the draft, but I think a budget option here would be Tyler Algier. I don't think it's going to cost you much, and I think he's able to be a bell cow running back, but I don't even think you need him to be, because you saw the emergence of Devin Neal at the end of 2025 before his injury. He looked very capable of being, at bare minimum, a committee running back coming out of Kansas, and you pair him with Tyler Algier, who now could probably be the 1A, as Devin Neal would be the 1B, similar to how they had it in Atlanta, but Tyler Algier will get to be the captain of this ship, and you want all these weapons, so I think they're going to get another weapon in free agency as a wide receiver or the draft. Imagine going into the season with him, maybe Carnell Tate, Chris Olave, Algier, and Tyler Shuck. You're really going to see what Tyler Shuck is really about, and you give that 1 to 2 years, see if he's the guy. If he is, then you fully pay him, and if it's not, then you just turn around and scrap it. But that's how you kind of got to build the team, so you got to see what you've got with your quarterback, and what better way to take a young running back that is very capable of getting into the end zone, as we know, and also has a career yards per carry of 4.3, so going into 2026, I'd be very optimistic with the changes the Saints make if they're able to add some more playmakers. Then we got the Giants with Caleb Downs, probably a top 5 prospect in this draft. Obviously, it's weird that he's a safety, but he can do everything, whether it's special teams, punt return, kick return, you name it. He's just a freak athlete. He's a ball hawk everywhere. He can also lay the lumber, and with the Giants at the 5th pick, I think they have to take him here because their defensive line is very, very good. You have Brian Burns, Abdul Carter going into year 2. You just need some more help on the back end, and I think Caleb Downs can kind of glue that all up for the most part, and then you sign a few corners, and then you're good to go. I think this defense under John Harbaugh will look a lot different, and they'll try and play with a little bit more tempo to keep their defense off the field. But Caleb Downs has been on many people's radar for a few years now, so they finally get the opportunity to pounce on one of the best talents, and I think they do so and turn themselves into a question mark into 2026 that could really turn it around with John Harbaugh at the helm. And then across the state, it's going to be the Jets here. Yes, in MetLife Stadium, there was a fire sale at the deadline, letting go of Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner, but I think you're trying to rebound that defense with no Dante Moore in the 2026 draft class. At pick number 2, I think you got to go best available. I'm fine with taking Arvell Reese, but I think Ruben Baines is the best option for them here. He was a game wrecker all college football playoffs. He has that big game experience that you're looking for, and he's very kind of physical down the line rusher, so the Jets can get another playmaker on the defense, pair him with Jermaine Johnson, and be able to go into 2026 feeling at least good about their pass rush, maybe get at least 1 interception in 2026. But on the offensive side of the ball, you're also in that QB limbo spot of trading for a Kyler or a Tua, but I think they're still a few pieces away, so this can help shore up the defense, but maybe in another 2026 tank effort, then you can take a guy like Arch Manning or one of the top QB prospects in 2027. Then we go to the Eagles, finally to a kind of better team here in the past few years. But with the Eagles, I think they go back to the O-line. That's what made them great. I don't know if they're going to move on from A.J. Brown. It would make some sense in the sense that kind of he's been making a lot of rumors here with the disagreements with the coaching staff. So maybe you just kind of clear some new air into the building. But it would result in a lot of dead cap space. So just for now, I think they just beef up the O-line with Lane Johnson missing some time. I'm not sure if this is his last year. obviously getting up there in age, but you have Mailata and a few others on the O-line, and you're needing of some more guys to really fill in the depth. And where do they go? They go to Georgia and get Monroe Freeling here, another offensive lineman that you can plug and play almost everywhere across the line, which the Eagles are great at. They're great at just shuffling formations around. All these guys are versatile. So I think Freeling would make a lot of sense, obviously the school, but also just his physical nature, and I think he would be a perfect fit in Philly as they try and recapture their identity of just running the ball with Saquon, and then occasionally throwing the deep ball to Devontae Smith and getting Jalen Hurts' legs involved, but that requires a good O-line. So this is a step in the right direction for them. Then we got the Steelers trading for Brandon Ayuk. Yes, I don't think you're going to have to give up much because his time in San Francisco is done. That relationship has really soured over the contract situation. But before he signed the contract, the only team that was really interested in him was the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know it was a different team with a coach of Mike Tomlin, who was poised for kind of capturing these wide receivers that had other issues beforehand and turning them into stars. But I think with the same coaching staff here with Mike McCarthy and this win now window, I think it makes a little bit of sense to get another weapon outside of DK Metcalf, at least just for the next few years while you're in this contending window. So whichever quarterback, whether it's like Kirk Cousins or Will Howard in next year, you give them a real chance with two weapons instead of just checking it down to Kenneth Gainwell every play. And I think that's the recipe for success here. You get a high potential guy. Brandon Ayuk has done it in the playoffs. He looked very good. I don't know how he'll look post-injury, but it's worth a shot with this current roster situation and the defense only getting older. Then we got the Niners making a big splash trade to get Brian Thomas Jr. from the Jags. The Jags have made a lot of moves on the offensive side of the ball, specifically wide receivers, to kind of beef up that position. And they're kind of pushing Brian Thomas Jr. out the door, kind of subtly here, signing Jacoby Myers to an extension after trading for him, as well as bringing back Parker Washington and Travis Hunter. Those guys all had great chemistry with Trevor Lawrence, and the one guy who didn't was Brian Thomas. And I think the Niners are in the perfect spot to make this move. You give up probably a high draft capital first rounder or second rounder to get BTJ, but once you do so, you have one of the best field stretchers, hopefully recapture his kind of identity from the down the field threat and maybe not the yips over the middle. But we've seen guys like Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, Debo be very good in that role, and I think BTJ would step in perfectly and give them some much needed help with George Kittle probably out for a portion of 2026, and BTJ could reform himself into the rookie season sensation with the Niners. And then we got the Seahawks here with David Njoku in free agency. The Seahawks, I don't know how they're like top 5 in cap space going into the offseason, but they are, and you might as well just get some more weapons with this offense. You have the quarterback figured out. You're going to pay Kenneth Walker to be your running back. Hopefully re-signing Rashid Shaheed, but at tight end, it's kind of that one position where you could use a little bit of an upgrade. You have A.J. Barner, who's young, yes, but I think you need some more guys that are capable of winning now. And David Njoku, while he hasn't played in the most playoff games, he's a veteran who is great after the catch and would be perfect for this offensive scheme. I think he matches perfect as a complement to JSN and Shaheed to be that over-the-middle, yard after contact guy. He's a freak athlete, and he would pair well with even A.J. Barner, and they can do separate things, whether in the blocking game or in the receiving game. So Njoku, I like him going to Seattle here, kind of the rich get richer in that sense, and bringing him to a team that's already in win-now mode. Then we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going after Cassius Howell, another guy in the NFL draft. Figures it's an edge rusher because this defense continues to age, and they're still in that window where you're trying to compete for the division in the NFC South. The Panthers aren't that much ahead of them, and the Saints are coming right up behind them, so you might as well beef up the defense because it needs a lot of help. You have Vita Vea up front, but both of the guys in the linebackers are continuing to age, and you get some more pass rush, which is really needed because the back end is not that great. So speeding up the quarterback is only going to help your defense out, especially with Todd Bowles. He likes to dial up pressures, and getting some more guys that can actually get home to the quarterback can really help you out, as they already have all the weapons on offense to make it work. It's just a matter of getting all the puzzle pieces to actually mesh together, which hopefully new offensive coordinator Zach Robinson can do. But the defensive side of the ball would be a big help, getting Cassius Howell from Texas A&M to really help shore up some of those defensive gaps. Then we got the Titans going back to another tight end here. It's going to be a big splash play of Kyle Pitts. He's probably going to get a ton of money, and deservingly so. He almost returned to that rookie season 1,000 yards, but he finished with just over 900, which is still very, very solid, and he had that magical game against the Bucs on Thursday. Night Football, and being able to match him up with Brian Daboll and Cam Ward, it's great for these young quarterbacks to get as many weapons as possible, and you get him, maybe you draft the 4th overall pick with Lemon, Carnell Tate, or Jordan Tyson, you kind of get your pick there, and then you're going into 2026, being able to see what you got in Cam Ward. I thought he showed a lot of great flashes, but in order to truly tell if he's going to be elite, you need to surround him with talent, and Kyle Pitts is one of those guys where he's young enough where he can develop even with Cam Ward for the next few years, and being able to pair him with Brian Daboll, I think it opens up his playbook a whole lot more and can make this Titans offense into an immediate playoff contender from day one as soon as you make these signings. Getting Kyle Pitts into the building is a step in the right direction. And then finishing us off is going to be the Washington Commanders here with David Bailey. I know it's probably a slim to none shot that he actually drops this far, but if teams, as it comes closer to the draft, they get more kind of in tune with the offensive playmakers. We saw it with Genti rising up the board, so I'm not surprised if that happens with guys of the wide receiver standard of Tyson or Carnell Tate getting drafted at picks 3 or 4. So getting David Bailey to fall to the Washington Commanders would be perfect. A great edge rusher. You can also get one of the other edge rushers. It's great. It's a deep class for this, and it's exactly what Dan Quinn needs on the defensive side of the ball. You need more guys that can get home, and he's one of the best. He played on the best defense in college football. I'm pretty confident saying that, and he's one of these guys that is just super, super physical. Also one of the smartest players on the field. So being able to bring in David Bailey and hopefully sign some more guys on the back end, bring this team back to a contending window. But I still think there's some more gaps on the offensive side of the ball. So bringing back Deebo Samuel would be my main priority, but also developing some young running backs, maybe getting Rashad White from Arizona State. Obviously, his college connection with Jaden Daniels goes way back. Bringing him in to be the third down pass kind of protection back, also in the receiving game, would be very beneficial for them, but they need more pieces, and it starts on the defensive side of the ball. So I really like this move with Bailey. Well, that's going to do it for every single team this offseason. Just one move that they can make to upgrade their team, to make them just a few wins better. So let me know in the comments if I got your team right, and hit the subscribe button for more, and peace.